Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and members of the Human Resources Club, good morning and welcome to this special HR Club session. This is Waoud Darmaki from the Federal Authority for Government Human Resources. It's truly a pleasure to see such a strong gathering of HR leaders, innovators, and thinkers who are shaping the future of the UAE federal government. Today's session carries a simple yet powerful message: HI plus AI equals to ROI, a formula that reflects the next era of HR, where human intelligence and artificial intelligence are not competing forces, but complementary ones. When brought together, they drive meaningful and measurable return on investment for our people, our organizations, and the nation. Over the past few years, we have witnessed extraordinary shifts in the way governments operate, the way employees learn, and the way organizations deliver value. And one thing has become very clear: AI alone is not enough. Technology becomes truly powerful only when it is paired with human creativity, judgment, empathy, and leadership. At Fahar, we are proud to be leading this transformation across the federal government through initiatives. Each initiative reflects our belief that when human capability and advanced technology come together, the impact is exponential. Today's HR Club session will dive deeper into how this formula, HI plus AI, can maximize the organizational performance, improve decision making, accelerate talent development, and ultimately deliver greater ROI for the government of the UAE. I invite you all to engage, challenge ideas, share your perspectives, and explore how each of us can apply this formula in our daily work. Our session today will be led by Dr. Eli Musallam, Human Resources and Organizational Development Expert at SHRM. Please feel free to share any questions or comments you have in the chat box throughout the session. We will address all questions at the end. Thank you. Dr. Eli, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Waoud. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you again for such initiatives that supports the human resources function in the UAE. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Elim Salim. I'm an HR consultant and human capital and organizational development expert. I've been in the HR field for the past 20 years in Lebanon, UAE, KSA, and Qatar. I've been involved with several training projects and consulting projects in this area, and subject matter expert at the Society of Human Resources Management, SHRM MENA. As introduced by my colleague Waoud, our topic today will be segregated into two major components. And I'll try to translate in both languages, English and Arabic, so we can cover everyone. So the topic is to balance between the human intelligence and the artificial intelligence. And this is a question that we're facing currently in the workforce, whether as HR in our practices, as well as with our employees. So we have a challenge today that AI will be replacing humans. So وهذا السؤال مشروع، وبالتالي الموظفين بيسألون طيب اليوم شو المستقبل؟ هل ممكن انه الذكاء الاصطناعي ياخذ محل الانسان؟ Okay, that might be. We're moving to another era of technology and AI. But however, if we ask the question today, we do not have any answers, a clear answer. So we can stipulate, we can ask, okay, we can think of what could happen. However, let's start and think strategically as HR and how to balance between these two components and talk about relationships. So allow me first, before going into the technicalities, to discuss relationships أو العلاقات, since we're in HR and one of the core competencies that we need to have as also per SHRM competency framework is relationship management أو إدارة العلاقات. So what we're looking for is to balance between AI and HI and to have eventually a relationship which we call symbiotic relationship. Arabic, if we were to translate it, هي علاقة تكاملية. where we're complementing each other between humans and artificial intelligence to achieve goals that we were unable to complete if we were to work alone. So هذه بنسميها العلاقة التكاملية or symbiotic relationship. Even in these types of relationships, we will discuss three. In any type of relationships, let's say talk humans or any type of uh, uh, entities. First, we have the parasitism. What we mean by parasitism, if we were to take the word parasite, is where one entity is benefiting from or at the expense of the other party. So في طرف يستفيد على حساب طرف آخر. اثنين, commensalism. The commensalism is that one party is benefiting, but the other party is not impacted, neither positive nor negative. And third one, which is the mutualism, where both parties are benefiting from one another. So again, parasitism, from the word parasite, one entity is benefiting at the expense of in the other party, وبالتالي على مصلحة الطرف الآخر وتكلفة الطرف الآخر. Nine, commensalism. One party is benefiting, but the other party is not being impacted. And mutualism, so both parties are benefiting from these relationships. Let's take this into our AI and HI. When we use AI to, for instance, hacking, fraud, even eliminating humans or eliminating positions or terminating employees, this might be under parasitism, where we are benefiting at the expense of other entities or other individuals or for the wrongdoing. And sometimes the AI is being used for wrongdoings. Second, commensalism, where we as humans, we benefit from AI without giving it back. We need to give back to AI. Like, yes, we all use the word when machine learning, and this is a trend, machine learning. Learning from whom? The machine would learn from whom? It would learn from us. So this is what we're looking for. So when you're only doing some basic prompting on ChatGPT and just taking the information without correcting eventually the output or correcting whatever was the output, this is only commensalism. So what we're focusing on or we're aiming on is to have a mutual relationship between AI and the humans, and this is what we'll be focusing on throughout the session, is to give back by correcting, prompting, providing more details or examples and whatever. So this is what we mean by mutualism. Okay. That's great. Everyone is talking about AI and moving to AI. تمام. But are we ready? So what we urge you to do, ladies and gentlemen, since we are in human resources and some of us are specialized in organizational development, is our organization ready to embrace AI at the strategic level and at the application level? Yes or no? We would urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to assess the readiness of your organization. Some of the sources that we urge you to take into consideration, and we will be discussing or the outcome of these, could be Gartner AI Maturity Framework or Deloitte AI Adoption Framework or MIT and Capgemini AI Transformation Guideline. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the Capgemini is the consulting firm not related to the Gemini, which we're using as AI. So these are some sources you may utilize in case you were to do such assessments. These are credible and you can customize based on your organization. وبالتالي ممكن أن نستخدم هذه المصادر ونقوم بتنقيحها بحسب الاحتياجات عنا بالجهة اللي نحن شغالين فيها. The core components of these assessment will be, or these frameworks could be as follows. So let's discuss them one by one, please. First would be a strategy and vision. Strategy, if we do not have a proper strategy and vision for AI adoption, we're not talking at the organizational strategy, مش بس على الصعيد المؤسسي يكون عندنا رؤية واستراتيجية. هل نحن عندنا رؤية واستراتيجية واضحة للأتمتة وللذكاء الاصطناعي and embracing and adopting AI? Yes or no? Do we know where we're going in the upcoming years? Yes or no? Second, data and analytics readiness. طيب, we want to go into AI, machine learning, and digital. طيب, okay, do we have the data? ولا بتقلي 80% or 90% of your work is still paper based and you do not have the data. This is one. It might be. We might have some policies and procedures and work that's still manual. One thing. Are they correct? If it is the data is available, you have ERPs, you have HRIS, you have applicant tracking system, whatever. But are they ready? Are they correct? Complete? Could be moved into a proper database, proper table? Yes or no? So this is the second component. Third, process and operational readiness. is your policies and procedures that currently being applied in the company or in your department, and we'll be discussing in a few at the departmental level. We want to go to the technical and the step-by-step process. Do you have the processes and the operating processes that are eligible to go and ready for AI? Yes or no? First, I would ask you the question: do you have all the policies and the procedures in your company or department ready? But we have 60% or 70% available. Like, okay, tamam. So we have 30 or 40% no policies or procedures. We're assessing the process at the process level, please. So either it could be AI replaceable, AI augmentable, or human led. So either the process could be replaced by AI, or the human should be interfering or managing this process, or AI augmentable. Please remember, when we use the terminology of AI augmentable, we are the pilots. القرار عنا، نحن عم نتحكم بهذا الإجراء، وال AI is the co-pilot، هو عم بيساعدنا بهذا الإجراء. So these are the three suitability of any type of processes that we'll assess together. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge you to think of a specific process that you currently do in your organization and in your team. Specific, please. يعني screening, screening CVs, payroll, training needs assessment, and so on. Specific process. And let's assess. We will assess these processes based on 4 components. First, the process characteristic. Second, value and impact. Third, compliance and risk consideration. And 4, human and AI interaction. And we will probe into each of these 4 components. So again, 4 criteria: process characteristic, value and impact, risk and compliance, and human AI interaction. تمام. Let's go through the first one, process characteristic. Is the process that you have selected, and we are assessing, ladies and gentlemen, if it is suitable for AI, yes or no? Is it repeated? What's the repetitiveness of this process? If it is high, you give it 5 points. So the assessment would be from 1 to 5. Okay, 1 for the lowest, 5 for the highest. So if you tell me that this process, very repetitive tasks that could be automated, you give it 5. If it's not repeated, 1, from 1 to 5. Second, structured data availability. Not only data availability, because we discussed that earlier, that we need to have the data and it should be digital and not physical, but is it clean? Is it standardized? So for the system and for the AI or for the tool that we're implementing to understand it, yes or no? Third, predictability. Can we build on the data and the available data and the historical data to predict what might happen in the future from the system? Yes or no? Again, from 1 to 5. 1 for the lowest, 5 for the highest. 4, volume. الحجم العمليات والإجراءات. So, is it large scale? Is it, okay, it is repetitive, but the number of transactions, is it low? Is it high? Yes or no? اللي high, 5 points. Very low, 1 point. 5, rule-based decision logic. Rule, هل نقدر نحن نحط قاعدة? Are we able to set a specific rule for the AI or for the system to use it for the implementation of a specific process؟ وبالتالي عم نحط ضوابط وقواعد معينة يستخدمها الذكاء الاصطناعي في تنفيذ الإجراء. Yes or no? So from 1 to 5. تمام? Again, 1 is for the lowest, 5 for the highest. I hope you had the time to assess the process that you have selected. Let's go to the next component, please. Value. Value and impact. In addition to the process itself, is automating and using AI would generate value and impact to the team, to the entity, to the department, to the ministry, yes or no? How do we assess that? First, by efficiency gain. Are we enhancing the performance of the team؟ عم نحسن أداء فريق العمل أو المؤسسة وقت اللي نحن عم نستخدم ونسوي الاصطناعي، yes or no? So again, from 1 to 5. It's reducing the operating cost، عم تخفف التكاليف التشغيلية، yes or no? Second, error reduction potential. هل من خلال الذكاء الاصطناعي عم نقلص الأخطاء اللي ممكن تصير من خلال human errors؟ Yes or no? So we're reducing and having potential to reduce the errors, yes or no? 3, strategic importance. Does the integration of AI and new technologies and emerging technologies would support the organizational strategy and objectives? Yes or no? So from 1 to 5.
Okay, how could that be? Like, okay, if the vision of our country today, as in the UAE, is to go into digital and embracing the best technologies and the best practices with regards to that, so implementing the technology and having, for instance, an online agent to support employees in the government sector, this would be a positive impact to our vision as UAE. 4, scalability. Is this tool or technology that you are implementing in your department could be used across other departments or other locations, or you would have to embrace or get other technologies to do that? وبالتالي هل ممكن أن تستخدم هذا الذكاء الاصطناعي أو هذا السيستم بمختلف الأقسام والإدارات ومناطق جغرافية وإلى ما هنالك، أو بدك تضطر ترجع تدفع لسيستمز مختلفة؟ Yes or no. So these are the next component. Again, 1 for the lowest, 5 for the highest. 3, risk and compliance. Definitely we need to take into consideration what would be some potential risks, المخاطر، والأكيد مخاطر الامتثال، لأنه the law or the best practices are above anything else. طيب, does embracing AI would cause any regulatory risks or non-compliance with the law? Yes or no. إذا بتقلي yes, you give it 1 point. إذا بتقلي no, up to 5 points. So regulatory and legal risks. Second, ethical sensitivity. And we discussed earlier that AI could have some biases and so on, and fairness and inclusion and ethical practices, malpractices. So does embracing AI in this particular area would have any ethical sensitivity on the people على الطرف الذي يستفيد من الخدمة اللي أنت عم تقدمها كقطاع حكومي أو شبه حكومي ولا ما هنالك. Third, reputation risk. So does having the AI or incorrect AI could harm the reputation and the credibility of the company أو سمعتها? I'll give you an example. For instance, sometimes you go and use the services of other entities, not necessarily the public sector. And you face a problem. Okay, عندك مشكلة، بتدخل بدك تحاول تتكلم مع حد، ابدا بيجيك الاي اي. How can I help you? You ask the inquiry، بيقول لك okay I cannot answer, please revert to an agent. طيب okay, escalate to an agent. ما بقى في human interaction to respond to some of the challenges that we have. So this might be one of the challenges that might impact the reputation أو سمعة المؤسسة if we do not embrace the AI with the proper regulations. So these are the 3 components of risk and compliance consideration. Law is for if it has high impact on risk or ethical or reputation, you give it 1 up to 5 for the positive. 4th, which is very important part, especially when we're talking about HR, human and AI interaction. Does this process need human oversight? So again, if you chose recruitment screening, if you chose promotion, if you chose payroll, does it need a human oversight? Yes or no? إذا بتقلي yes, you give it 1 point. It doesn't need human oversight, up to or no, you give it up to 5 points. Next, employee acceptance. This is a very important part that we need to take into consideration. What would be the acceptance of your employees؟ ده نسبة قبول الموظفين لاستخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي. Sometimes they would feel threatened، صح؟ but sometimes if we were able to share with them what's in it for them، ما هي القيمة المضافة للموظف إذا نحن استخدمنا الذكاء الاصطناعي أو أي type of technology، وكيف ممكن يأثر على سياق عمله. So they will have more time for self-development, to work on something more strategic and so on. So this could be of importance. So employee acceptance، ده نسبة قبول الموظفين للذكاء الاصطناعي والتكنولوجيز. Third, transparency requirements. Is the outcome of the AI or the outputs of the AI could be audited and properly communicated? So عارفين what could be the outcome? Yes or no? So if we were to do internal audits and to make sure that the outcomes is up to the requirements, yes or no? By doing so, ladies and gentlemen, we will be able to identify if the total score, if we do the proper assessment, if the total score is below 35, يعني we can say that that particular process is low suitability for AI and it is preferable to be human led. وبالتالي قيمناها ولقينا انه جهوزية اجراء ممكن يكون افضل منخفض، وبالتالي it should be human led. If the score is between 35 to 49, AI augmented. وبالتالي we are the pilots and the AI is the co-pilot. If you tell me that the score is between 50 to 75, that it means it has high suitability. Yani we can rely on AI and automation with minimal human intervention. Okay? Let's have an example, ladies and gentlemen. I will choose one of the processes that all of us in HR we utilize and we struggle with, اللي هي CV screening. So فرز السيرات الذاتية. And you will assess quickly, to gain the time, please, ladies and gentlemen, and to open up the questions and your comments. We assessed our process characteristic in terms of repeatedness, availability, structured the availability of the data, predictability, volume, and rule-based. Is screening the CVs repetitive? Like, yes. We're receiving CVs on a daily basis. We're huge volume. And وبالتالي we give it 5 points. So yes, this process is very repeated, is very high volume. It is the structured data is available. ليه؟ لأنه when they are applying, either they are filling an application, a standard application form, or you're using CV parsing technologies and you are extracting the data in a specific table. So it is structured data and available. تمام. Can we set rules, predefined rules, in order to select the CVs? Yes or no? So yes, you can identify some keywords. I need number of years of education, specific degrees, some keywords. So yes. So on these we can score 25 points. 25 points. Yes. اوكي سو بهذه المكونات لقينا انه فرز السيرات الذاتيه نعم بهذا الاجراء يتكرر وحجمه كبير وعم بياخذ منا وقت كثير والى ما هناك، وبالتالي رح يحصد نقاط مرتفعه. نفس الشيء بالنسبه لي الفاليو او الامباكت. هل رح ياثر على اداء فريق عمل الاتش ار؟ بقول لك طبعا رح نقلص الوقت التشغيل، وبالتالي الوقت الموظف اللي هو عم بيمضي وقت لفرز السيرات الذاتيه والى ما هنالك. So we're gaining more time, less errors. انه اليوم human error يقرا السيره الذاتيه and so on. So it could be. Is it scalable? Like yes, لانه you can use it for more than one position on one recruitment, so you can do that. كمان it scored high on the value and impact. However, if we go to the regulatory والethical والreputation, like لحظة, we need to take into consideration لأنه sometimes the AI or the tool or the applicant tracking system we are using could be somehow biased based on the content, based on the form or the format of the CV and so on, and might have misleading decisions. That's why it might need human intervention and human judgment to go further. So that's why the risk and compliance consideration, we have some low scores in the regulatory والethical والreputation. It goes back high على human and AI interaction, because employees in HR would be happy having an AI tool that is reducing the manual work. So بالمطلق انا كموظف بموارد البشريه وبالاستقطاب والتوظيف رح اتقبل انه يكون في عندي سيستم عم بيساعدني يسوي فرز السيرات الذاتيه. So اخذنا 4/4 على هول 3 criteria. If we get the total, ladies and gentlemen, we will have this process high suitability for AI. So it scored 63. So it is high suitable for AI integration and so on. Okay, but we need to have the proper intervention as HR and to have the proper predefined criteria. يعني الكيوردز المصطلحات والكلمات المفتاحيه اللي بدك اياها لحتى الاي اي او السيستم يسوي الفرز، هذه بدها تكون مهمه وتكون صحيحه. If you input it incorrectly, so don't blame the AI. It is a human intervention that was not predefined correctly. طيب, I would ask you the question. In case we are assessing, for instance, performance management or taking a decision for a promotion, would it be high suitable like for the CV screening? أكيد it would be not as suitable as CV screening. Again, for instance, if we use the performance evaluation or performance promotion decisions, it is still related to HR as humans or the line manager. So it needs the intervention of humans, health contact. AI could support. That's why in case we do this assessment on it, for instance, it could be moderate suitability. AI could support us بالreporting, بالdashboarding, giving us some red flags on an employee على employee performance, promotional lead time، قديش اخر فتره زمنيه اللي اخذ فيها ترقيه هذا الموظف، يعطينا indicator for instance على مش بس الدايركت performance من performance appraisal، بيقدر يحكيك عن التاردiness، بيقدر يحكيك عن الابسنتيزم، and they will give us some reports and red flags. So in this particular case, AI could be this process could be moderately suitable for AI integration. So this is a tool, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge you and I would advise you to do it at the process level. It's حلو كتير نتكلم AI وديجيتال. Okay, let's go step by step. Let's assess each process and accordingly do it the correct way. Okay? Could the AI be is always right? Like, yes, it's always right. What's the source? Well, trust me, bro, it's AI. Definitely not. Let me share with you, ladies and gentlemen, the confusion matrix of AI. Please focus with me on this. The confusion matrix of AI. AI might give us two components in this. We have in this matrix, first, the predicted value and the actual value. The predicted value is what the AI have predicted for us. شو توقع لنا ال AI, either something positive or something negative. The second component is the actual value, what actually happened. What actually happened? Was it positive or negative? Sometimes sometimes the AI would predict something positive and actually happens. So again, it predicts something positive and actually is positive. For instance, which we call true positive. يعني AI could tell us that this candidate or this employee would be a high performer and eventually ends up to be a good performer or high performer. This is what we call true positive. وبالتالي توقع شيء إيجابي وطلع إيجابي. تمام. So this is true positive. Sometimes it's not. They would predict something positive but eventually is negative, which we call false positive. توقع شيء إيجابي ولكن فعليا طلع سلبي. اجى قال لك that a candidate would be excellent or a supplier is excellent, a system is excellent, but eventually it was not the case, it was negative, which we call false positive. توقع شيء إيجابي ولكن هو ليس بالصحيح إيجابي، ما طلع إيجابي. And with regards to that as well, the negative. Sometimes AI would predict something negative and eventually is negative, which we call true negative. وبالتالي they would tell you that an employee has will have poor performance, a successor in succession planning would not be the best suited the candidate and eventually ends up poor. So this is what we call true negative. توقع شيء سلبي وطلع سلبي. Sometimes the opposite, again, false negative. توقع شيء سلبي ولكن طلع هو إيجابي. This is what we call, ladies and gentlemen, the confusion matrix, the AI confusion matrix, where sometimes there are errors could occur and the system could be confused. Please take this into consideration. Then what can we do? The answer is to balance, to go back on what we all said and going back to the topic itself, is to balance between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. I would also urge you to take into consideration this collaboration matrix by Brent Dykes, where you can assess the process overall. Sorry. Are you still with me? Okay. Where we assess the process itself and say, okay, the human touch, does it have any advantage from low to high? And the task city, how much is the task that you're assessing is complex from low to high? If the process itself has low advantage on a human touch advantage and low complexity, will tell you خلاص, go directly for the automation. So again, there is no advantage from human touch and the task is not complex, so we go for automation, like for instance payroll, having pay slips, automating annual leaves and so on. So this could be automated. The impact or the value of the human touch is low and the complexity is low. If you tell me that the impact of humans advantage is low, but the task is complex, we go for the AI augmented, where we're working on workforce analytics, predicting attrition, turnover rate, where we can build on the dashboards and the analytics provided by AI, whether the predictive or prescriptive analytics. If you tell me that the process itself would require high human touch advantage, but yet the task is not very complex, we go for Elevate. Where Elevate, we need to take into consideration the cultural fit, some ethical practices, and yet the AI could have some red flags or compliance flags. Fourth, which is high on human touch advantage and high on task complexity, we need to lead. In which areas in HR, like for instance, workforce strategy, succession planning, managing change, and so on. We as HR or humans, we need to lead these initiatives, but the AI could support us in this particular areas. For instance, deciding on layoffs or restructuring. This is decisions that we as humans, we need to intervene and to take into consideration, whereas the AI could support us in dashboarding, reporting, and so on. But yes, the decision is ours. Conflicts, grievances, ethical issues, it should be led by HR, supported by AI. Okay? To end up, what should we do and how to do it? I would also share with you, ladies and gentlemen, a tool called Human in the Loop. Human in the Loop. And I will translate it into a chart, please. So we are inputting the data into the AI. Think of any AI tool or ChatGPT, whatever. We are inputting an inquiry or so on. The AI system is generating an output, a result. So you're asking them questions or asking for feedback, whatever. The mistake sometimes we do is just take these information and just use it, or transfer it to another system, or apply it. This is not what we need to do when we're talking about human in the loop. When we're talking about human in the loop, is that we as humans, we need to revise, we need to correct, we need to give feedback, we need to prompt, we need to give impact input, on these outputs. Like when we're asking, when you ask ChatGPT, are you sure of this information? Can you please use other resources? Can you tell me what is the reference used for that? Can you give me another? And we have lots of tools that we can utilize when it comes to prompting, and the best practices when it comes to prompting. So you're getting back these information to AI. So no, we're not fully convinced. Please revise it, update it, give more examples, make sure it is aligned with. You give them the context. So بتعطيه انت بترجع بتقول له للاي اي لا جاد تاكد من المعلومه اللي اعطيتني اياها، نقح لي اياها، زد لي اضافات، صحح لي اياها، اعطيني امثله and so on. Once you are convinced, ladies and gentlemen, then it is approved from the human. It could move to any other human that would be utilizing it, your colleague in other departments، زملاء باقسام اخرى، او ممكن انت وقت عم تعطي الابروفل تبعك على المخرجات اللي سواها الاي اي عم بتدخلوا على سيستم ثاني. It's updated into another system like the CRM, like the ERP, the HRIS. It depends on what tool you're utilizing. And you're definitely getting feedback from these users. They will tell you, okay, the information is complete, incomplete, we need something to correct, and it is a continuous loop. Please, I would urge you to do that, especially on the processes that needs to be AI augmented or even AI led. We need to be in the loop to make sure that everything that is occurring throughout the process, from the inputs من تدخيل البيانات على ال AI وصولا لاستخدامها من قبل الاشخاص والاطراف المعنيين والسيستمز الاخرين، نحن بدنا نكون صله الوصل لحتى نتاكد انه كل شيء عم بيصير معنا عم بيكون، والمعلومات اللي يتم استخراجها واستحداثها هي صحيحه وبحسب المتطلبات. And this is it for me. I would be glad to connect with you for any other inquiries or any other questions. And I look forward to other interventions. And we open the floor for any questions or any comments. Waoud, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Eli, for this insightful and informative presentation. We will now open the floor for questions. We have like 20 minutes for the Q&A part. My first question is, in your opinion, what is the first step HR leaders should take to practically integrate AI into their daily work?
Yeah, thank you for this question, Waoud. I will also focus again on what we have been discussing, is to be ready, to assess our readiness at the process level. If we were to talk about the day-to-day operations, are we ready for this? Yes or no? Second, we started the presentation, is our organization ready first to embrace the technology and AI before eventually doing it? Because we always discuss of what we call cascading down, إسقاط الأهداف. بحيث our objectives and our outcomes and everything we do in HR should be aligned with the strategy of our organization. So again, if we were talking at the UAE level, the vision of our country is to go for digital for best practices. So definitely, this is a huge vision for us. This is something that we can definitely build on and the support that we have. So we need to take this into consideration and apply it on step-by-step basis, assess your organizational readiness, and then go for the process readiness to be able to apply the project or the transformation in the correct way, and to avoid as much as possible the resistance, as much as possible the deviation from the implementation of these technologies.
And how can we ensure that AI enhances but not replaces the human element in government HR?
Currently, I don't think it is replacing. It is supporting. It is augmenting what we do in the public sector, especially in the public sector, because we need this connection. And we need the human intervention. But definitely, AI is supporting us. And if you go back, I think there's the new AI agent. I think it was introduced earlier this year. So the public sector employees have now an AI agent that supports them for any questions, but there would be the opportunity to escalate to a human for any type of questions. So yeah, this could be interesting.
Okay, and
yeah, please.
yeah, what skills should HR professionals develop today to stay relevant in an AI-powered future?
Definitely, Waoud, and ladies and gentlemen, we urge you to take into consideration the business acumen first, أو التجارية أو الذكاء التجاري first. So for us to really understand our business, to really understand our organization, our organizational structure, and then being digitally flexible. We do not have to go into the technicalities. نحن ما جايين نسوي coding، ما نحن جايين نعمل AI the technical. We're talking about HR individuals. So that's being at least up to date with the best practices when it comes to AI and the integration of AI and the best practices in HR and the digital transformation is of added value. Like for instance, attending such courses and being part of the HR club to be up to date with the best practices. This is definitely some of the what we should be doing and sharing experiences and so on.
Well, how do we prepare our workforce for the shift from traditional roles to skills-based roles supported by AI?
Yeah, I will share with you a small example of what could be some challenges we're facing or we faced before. We have some managers that have been there for the past years, and the first process we automated back then is the approval process, الموافقات. So كان في workflow معين للموافقات. The people who are impacted by this process whom are managers. ليه؟ لأنه previously they were used to إنه خلاص when they need to have to approve something, the employee wanted to take a meeting with them, availability, then to get the papers, check the papers, and to see the signature. كان يجلس مع الموظفين ويشوف التوقيع تبعه وبالتالي يوقع على المستندات. فشعر المدير بهذه الحاله انه اوكي I'm being demoted، عم تاخذ مني صلاحيات معينه لان I no longer see my signature. It is being replaced by a simple click. So
Yeah.
the acceptance of change, and again, one of the topics that we have discussed is that aligning the expectations of the employees. It's not replacing you, it is supporting you and giving you the opportunity to focus on self-development, on more strategic plans, and so on.
What are the key indicators or KPIs we should monitor to measure the real ROI of AI in HR practices?
Okay, some of the basic ones that we can start with, Waoud, ladies and gentlemen, is cost to benefit. So this is one, because currently there is lots of implementation fees and so on, especially in the public sector, because we cannot use open source technologies which could be available in other private companies. So the first part is the integration fees and the return on investment with regards to that. Second part is the conventional performance appraisal, the performance KPIs related to HR, because we need to prove to our teams and to our management that implementing AI has sustained and improved the performance of our teams. For instance, the time to fill, time to hire, the turnover rate, this could be impacted by implementing AI. So we can use these conventional KPIs, which we're currently using, and to compare before eventually applying the AI tools versus after applying. How did we enhance? Did it provide impact and value as we discussed earlier in the session? Yes or no? So this could be of added value.
Can you share an example of a quick win, something small that HR teams can implement immediately using AI?
Okay. One of the basic tools that we can utilize is including chatbots for repeated and high volume inquiries. For instance, instead of having the employee contacting you on a continuous basis, how many annual leaves, what would be the process for health insurance covered, what is not covered, and so on, we can implement an AI tool where the agent or the chatbot could respond to the employee himself, and we can personalize it as well. So rather than having it in full robot, because as we know, the employee would log in through their own credentials, so the AI could recognize who's the individual and would greet you. So they would tell you, "Hello, Waoud, how can I help you?" and so on. So you ask them about a specific question, and they will answer you based on your profile. So the number of annual leaves that you are eligible for, the level of insurance that you are eligible for as individual, which could be different from others. So this is a quick win, and this is something that we can implement low fees، ما بتكلف كثير الانتجريشن تبعها، as long as we're properly feeding ال AI والintegration تبعها مع ال HRIS that we are currently having.
Well, and how do we balance automation with fairness, transparency, and ethical decision making?
So when we go back, Waoud, to what we discussed earlier, is the process could impact or does impact ethical or compliance? Yes or no? So if we assess from the get-go if this process might have ethical impacts and so on, we need to take this into consideration from before eventually embracing the AI, not afterwards. So this is why we're discussing today the readiness before eventually implementing AI at the organization level and the process level.
And but what cultural shifts are needed within HR teams to embrace AI confidently and effectively?
So I'll go back to your earlier question, Waoud, is where we need to build our capabilities and to upskill our skills when it comes to digital adaptability. Again, we're not technical people, but we need to adapt. So digital adaptability is very important. So when we see the results and the outcomes and the revenues or the gains that we're getting from the implementation of AI in our policies and day-to-day work, definitely this could be of interest. It takes time, especially with people who've been there for the past years, or some people that are skeptical about the implementation of AI or the impact of AI. So it would take time, but eventually we will reach there. Back in the days, we used to use pens and papers and use الريشه والداكتيلو, but now we're
Yeah.
moving to a faster and we eventually embraced it. We eventually embraced it. جماعة attendance, we used to take the attendance manually, who came in, who came out, then we went to the punching, now we went to another through codes and geofencing. So we are embracing. It would take time, maybe depending on the entities, on the readiness, but we will go there. We will reach there.
Yeah. And where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI in HR in the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh, this is a very tough question for the 2-3 years, because we're now seeking for the upcoming 2-3 months. It is so speedy. We're not able to identify what could be in the future. What we were discussing today, maybe that was not valid maybe 1 or 2 months back, and definitely in the upcoming 1 or 2 months There would be lots of technologies and lots of best practices. But if we were to talk about what could happen, again, the technology is very fast. It is changing. It is implementing, and I see that there will be more interactivity between the HR functions as well as the other business functions, not only related to HR alone.
And my last question is, if you could give one piece of advice to HR leaders starting their AI journey, what would it be?
So be first ready, be digitally flexible, and do this effort to eventually embrace these changes, this flexibility and agility. And I will share with you one more tool, not to take too much time, please, ladies and gentlemen. This is something I've been working on for the past year. Is a new operating model in HR. And eventually that was the outcome of my doctorate degree, is that I built a model based on the best practices of various industries. I called it the large HR. Large HR. Large standing for L, standing for lean, A standing for agile, R standing for resilient, green, and entrepreneurial. So lean, we take it from the operations, manufacturing, where we need to enhance our policies, procedures, and better efficiencies in the line of work that we're doing. Agility, we took it from project management. We cannot just do the workforce planning and khalas for the upcoming 2-3 years. You cannot estimate for the upcoming 2-3 years as we used to do before. We need to be more agile when we're working on workforce planning, training needs assessment, succession planning. So we need to be more agile, being present, more engaged with the stakeholders on continuous basis, constant meetings, constant follow-ups. And resilient, we witnessed lots of challenges in the past years when it comes to COVID, economic recessions, wars, and so on. So we need to be resilient and how to deal with the workforce and our organization, as well as embrace diversity, inclusion, and equity. When it comes to we're embracing best practices when it comes to ESG, environmental, social, and governance, to maintain best practices when it comes to energy with sufficiency and so on. Last part, which is one of the most important part, we need our employees to come up with new ideas, to be more creative. Okay, give them the mindset. Let's start by us as HR to think entrepreneurial. And even further intrapreneurial, where you give the opportunity to your staff internally to come up with new ideas, generate ideas, being creative, out of the box thinkers, internal incubators, and so on. So this is one of the models, or the one new model I'm building on, and soon I'll be showing more details with regards to that. That would enable HR people to go step by step in each, and how to enhance or to move from the traditional HR policies and procedures to the more flexible and agile and lean one.
Thank you, Dr. Eli.
Pleasure.
Thank you all for your participation and engagement. And we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming sessions, where we will continue to explore new and emerging topics in the field of human resources. Thank you so much.
We have some questions, Waad. Would you want to take some, or?
Yeah, of course.
So we have lots of questions. So let me see, please. The risk of confidentiality. So Hayat is asking, what is the risk of confidentiality of data if shared in AI platforms? Analysis conclusion. So yes, Hayat, when we're assessing the process itself and the type of information we are sharing, this is part of the assessment we're doing. 1, 2, proper due diligence. When we're using the AI, we need to ask the questions. Where would the data be stored? Would it be in-house? Would it be on cloud? And if it is on cloud, which cloud would it be used? And so on. So definitely there would be a confidentiality risk. That's why we need to properly assess which tool we are using and where it is stored, whether on premises or on cloud. Okay, Shaima. Okay, Talal. رابط بس شو, ladies and gentlemen, الماتيريال could be shared and it is recorded. A pleasure, Mariam. Hayat,
it is recorded and it will be uploaded in our website.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, thank you. Nawal, was that your question, or Hayat? Sorry, was any other questions? ladies and gentlemen. Great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Waoud. The mic is yours.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you, everyone.